everybody. Welcome to She Built That, a podcast about women and their entrepreneurial journeys. This is our very first official guest episode, and I can't think of a better person to be my very first guest than the unsinkable, incredible Tami Palmer. Tami, welcome. Welcome to the show.
I can't believe I'm your first guest. Oh my gosh.
Who else would be Tami, like, you're like the reason for where I am at now. I have a quick story to tell everybody about Tami and why it's especially special that she is my first guest. If it weren't for Tami, I would not be where I'm at today. It was the spark that lit the flame inside of me, because Tami is an incredible career coach. And thanks to Facebook mom groups, I found Tami years ago. And then I was laid off twice within 15 months. And both times I sought out Tami's expertise. And she led me towards the path that I ultimately took to starting my own business. She wasn't the one that was like, start your own business, kid. But she was like, let me introduce you to the people who will help you on your path. And then through a series of events, if I hadn't met those people thanks to Tami, I wouldn't be where I am today. So Tami, that's like, I mean, come on. If we really think back to it, it has so much to do with you. And you are such an incredible entrepreneur. I know you always joke that your, what's your joke that your hobby is?
Oh, my hobby is starting businesses.
So even more amazing for you to be my very first guest that's about women starting their own businesses and the journey that they've taken on that path. I would love to talk to you about how you got started, about your journey and where you're going into the next stage. So first things first, okay. I want to talk about how it all began. What led you toward the life of an entrepreneur?
Yeah, the origin story. Well, it really began in childhood when my dad would tell me stories of how he proudly quit a job at 19 and never went to work for someone again.
Wow.
And I always felt like I was letting him down when I was succeeding in corporate. And I know I wasn't. I know he was proud of me, but he was always sort of wondering, when are you going to go do your own thing? And he understood and really taught me the value that you don't understand until you're an entrepreneur of the feeling of empowerment when you are creating your own destiny. And it is unbelievable when you land a client, when you get attention, when you get a magazine article, when you get all the things. If there's something that you built, it's a whole different feeling than being an employee and having those accolades come your way. So I am an accidental entrepreneur. I came up with it. I don't think I came up with this, but I embraced the concept of an intrapreneur. So being an entrepreneur in someone else's company. And that's what I did first. That was where I got my internship, so to speak, in starting my business. I joined forces with friends of mine who owned a temp agency. And I said, hey, I can come in because I had an HR and staffing background, and I can grow a whole other division of your company if you'll let me act like an owner and give me complete freedom and autonomy. I'm going to go build this thing for you. And they said, sure. So I did that for 5 years, and it was great. And I learned, I had to do collections. I had to do sales. I had to hire a team. I had to come up with a name for the division. We had to do a branding exercise around that, right? Like I did all the things of creating a business, but I was doing it under someone else's umbrella with their funding. And then I came to them and said, okay, I'm ready for partnership. And they weren't ready. And I realized I had plateaued and there wasn't anything left to build for them. And it was now time to go build my own thing.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting how like you were already building something on your own within somebody else's company. And that experience was then like, wait a minute, I did this for somebody else. I could do this for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I really wanted to build, I actually wasn't totally sure. When I left there, I thought I might go back to corporate, and I thought what I was going to build was a side hustle, which was really my retreats, my women's circles, those things that I do. And I was going to do that on the side, work in corporate, having corporate fund my dream job passion side project. And then in the midst of that, the universe said, oh, no, we have way bigger plans for you. You are leaving your life in Colorado. You are leaving your whole network that you've built for 20 years, and you're going to move back to Illinois. And so I ended up just doing this huge change and pivot, came here, had this LLC to do women's circles, and I now had no network, and I was starting from scratch. And I thought, oh gosh, what am I doing? Well, I know how to write resumes. I know how to coach interviews. Let me just start to do some of that. 12 years later, I have a successful career coaching practice. It was a little accidental, but also allowing that sort of intuitive guidance system to steer me to where I needed to be.
And tell us more about the scope of services that you offer, because you have so much that you do. I would love for you to just try to summarize everything.
It is challenging. So what I sometimes do is I say there are 4 pillars to what I do, and then I can go into greater detail.
Go for it.
The first pillar is life and career coaching. The second pillar is leading women's retreats and women's circles. I'm also a published author, and writing is a huge piece of my identity. And I am a master networker. I think I can claim that title. And I've developed and started groups. I'm very active in several of the groups that I belong to, but I lead a very, very large professional moms networking group in the Chicagoland area. So each one of those can be broken down into greater detail, but I'll talk a little bit about the career coaching since that's how you and I connected. And that stems, like I said, from my recruiting background. But what I really do is try and help people be intentional about their career decisions. So I like to come to people when they are at an inflection point in their career. Maybe they've been laid off and they need a job. Maybe they've been employed with the same company for a decade, but they know they need change, but change feels scary and overwhelming and they don't know where to go. So coaching them through how they figure out what the best job opportunity is for where they're at now, whether that's being employed or being self-employed, and then empowering them with the concrete tools to make that shift happen. So that might be helping with resumes or LinkedIn or job search strategy. I coach through interview and how to navigate interviews properly. And a lot of the in-between stuff and the nuances of the etiquette of, I had an interview. They said I'd hear back. I haven't heard back. When do I follow up? Who do I follow up with? What do I say? All of those things, I help people figure all that stuff out. And then at the end, ideally, I'm helping them negotiate an incredible salary package. That's the really fun part. And that's something I really, really love to do. And so that's sort of what that looks like. Now, for some people, it's, I don't know that corporate is the right path for you. So let's talk about what your own company would look like. And then sometimes I'll pass them off to my business coach, who's our mutual friend, Kim Kleeman. But, as you referenced earlier, part of what I do is I'm also with my networking. It's not always me, the one that's making the thing happen. It's me knowing who they need to meet. Just today, I had a client reach out and she wants help negotiating a comp package that's very specific to, has variable components, and it gets into nuances.
That's compensation, right?
Compensation, yeah. And, in sales, like her at-risk pay. And I said, honestly, I haven't been in HR in a really long time. I think I have other people in my network who could better support you with this specific question. But, come to me, pay me for the coaching. I'll find an associate coach in my network who can support you. So I really like to be that resource for people and not necessarily, I don't believe I'm the only one that can help them with their needs.
When I worked with you, I remember very distinctly how much I appreciated that you didn't push me in any one direction. You just kind of gently suggested ideas. And then you let me come to those conclusions on my own. And that is why I continue to recommend you to people over and over again, because I know that no matter who I send your way, whether there's somebody who is really good at making decisions or somebody who's like, I can't decide, that you're going to give the care that that person needs. Because you're also, and this ties into so many other things that you do, you have such incredible intuition. Like your gut is like so on that you're able to kind of like, you're such a good listener and you really are able to meet people at their level in order to give them what they need at the moment. And so even though friends that I have who may be more timid and maybe more like, I don't know if a career coach is right for me. I don't know what to do. I know, like, just talk to Tami. Like she'll figure it out for you. Like she's not going to leave you hanging. She actually cares about each of her clients, and you're going to have her in your corner forever, no matter what comes up in your career or life. So, I mean, does that ring true to you?
Yeah. And that's, I mean, thank you for sharing those thoughts. And yeah, I mean, you can't force the breakthroughs. And all I really like to do is to be an ideation partner in the process of trying to figure it out. I love to do anything I can to help quiet the noise and the brain chatter and start rolling things out. Like, no, that path isn't good. And here's why. And showing them how I see it and them realizing, oh, you're right. That is a distraction. And so, okay, well, let's stay focused on this path that does feel more aligned. And then sometimes I'll be, really open to the idea of we're overthinking this and we're not going to get there by just talking and trying to get there. We need to drop into the body, and maybe there's some energy blocks that you need to address. Maybe you need EMDR therapy. Maybe you need to do a Reiki session. Maybe you need to go on a retreat. Maybe I had a client who, bless her heart, she was just in a spin cycle that was so clear to me that nothing was going to be able to come through. And the vision of what she really needed to do was on the other side of the spinning ball of energy, of anxiety and fear that had taken over. And I went to her and I said, my best advice for you, come on my retreat. I'm going to be in Colorado next week. You live in Colorado. Can you get up there? I'll get you a spot. You get a hotel room. The house is sold out, but I've got space for you in the retreat. You just have to get here. Because I knew she needed the other women and the conversation and to kind of get out of that space. And sure enough, it was an incredible weekend for her. She did make it. And on the other end of it, she's a different person. And she refound that sense of joy and reconnected. And now she's reading job descriptions and she's like, I know what I want. I want that. But you can't get there by yourself looking at LinkedIn in a fear state.
Oh my God. I'm starting to tear up because just listening to you talk about this woman's experience, it rings so close to my heart of what I was going through when you were just like, come to my International Women's Day luncheon back in March of 2023, that then set my path for what was to come. And that you just instinctually knew, like, you need to be in the room where it's happening. You need to be with the other women who are going to make those sparks fly and who are going to take you by the hand and kind of guide you in the right direction. And so I kind of got the chills when you were talking about her. You're so damn good at that. So I kind of want us to talk about some things that could maybe help our listeners out, like help our readers out.
It's because I'm a book nerd.
There you go. I just tuned into that.
It just
absolutely. So I want to know, what was your biggest fear when starting out on your own? And then how did you push through it?
I remember a time where I wasn't making money. I was new and I wasn't sure how to grow the business. And I thought maybe I need to contract with other organizations as a third party to get money coming in. But then, back then you couldn't do it remotely. You're going to have to drive on site. And I'm doing the hourly math and I'm like, well, this isn't the right answer either. And I have a coach friend named Jerry Valentine, who I adore. And he was a real big help for me in the early days and inspiration for me. And he taught me a line, which I use regularly, which is, you will go as long as your emotional and financial runway will take you.
Yes.
And what I tell people is your emotional runway will run out, I guarantee it, before your financial runway.
Talk a little more about the emotional runway.
The emotional runway is the confidence. It's the belief in what you're doing. It's the energy to keep going forward, to keep coming up with new ideas and new approaches, and to figure out how to make the thing work. Right? The easy answer is to just say, it's too hard. I don't know how to get a business going. I'm just going to go get a job as a recruiter. Right? Because then the business is handed to me and a paycheck's handed to me, and I don't have to figure it all out. So the emotional runway is that sense of overwhelm. I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm not going to make it. And it's a confidence thing for sure.
Yeah, I feel like there's a certain amount of scrappiness that you need to be an entrepreneur, that like, okay, this isn't working. I have to pivot. I have to figure something else out. How else can I maybe pull together 4, 5, 6 different streams of income so that it all adds up to something livable until I can get to that next level?
Or hire a business coach because you're not thinking about it the right way, and you need someone else to come in and teach you, like, what if you did this? What if you did that? Oh, well, I didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of people that I meet who I can see are struggling and don't know which direction to go to, my number one question for them is, are you working with a business coach?
Yes.
And then the next question, if they say yes, is, how do you feel about your business coach? Do you feel like they're actually moving you forward? And how, because that's the first investment that I made when I started my business, was I knew, and we're going to meet Kim soon. Kim is going to be a future guest. You guys won't have to wait long to meet Kim Kleeman, but she is my business coach. She is Tami's business coach. And having her in my corner was the game changer. I bet on her, and it totally paid off. I mean, I'm charging what I should be now. And she was the one to be like, you're not charging enough. What are you doing? Like little
because
things like that.
Because it's such a confidence thing. We don't understand how to charge.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk a little bit. This is like the worst segues ever, by the way. I still need to figure out how to do segues. I've never been a good seguer either. That was definitely.
And pivot. Yeah. Okay, next topic. Just do that. That'll work.
You know, when I was in acting school, I often got coaching that my transitions were not the best. And, you know, I think we can see why now. Because I
think you should just own it as part of your brand.
You'd be like, you know what? I don't transition. Boom. We're on to the next thing. Okay. So here's my next question. How did you know when it was time to scale? And what did that process look like?
I don't know that I ever did scale.
Or rather add, because did you just start doing one thing, or did you start out being like, I want to do 10 things?
You mean like with my retreats and all that other stuff?
Yeah. Like, how did you know it was time to add on another layer?
Oh, well, I probably am not answering this the way you're supposed to answer this, but I add things on when I feel like it.
I love that. How do you know? Do you just get a feeling?
So, I mean, like with the retreats, we'll use that as an example.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that 20 years ago. I found retreat destinations. I would run the numbers, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. And some of that was the overhead of having a business I was working for, but that's been something I've been on forever. And then what happened was, I don't know, it was 2018, I think. And I was like, I want to go on a writing retreat. I love going on writing retreats. Those have been, I mean, my second novel came to me, the entire opening scene came to me downloaded during a meditation exercise at a writing retreat. So really powerful experiences for me. That's a whole other podcast episode.
You'll be back.
So I wanted to go on a retreat and I couldn't find a retreat. And then I said, well, why am I looking? Why don't I just make one? Some of it is I build what I want to have because I don't believe in waiting for somebody else to build it. And I did that with my networking group. I needed friends. I was new to town. There's got to be other working moms that need people. I'll just create a group. Then I'll find everybody. I've also found that as an introvert, having a leadership role in organizations is much more enjoyable when you're the one in charge than just being an attendee. Because then you walk into a room and you're uncomfortable. But if it's your group, you always feel like you fit in.
It's your party.
So that strategy has worked for me my whole career. Because honestly, who Tami really is this book nerd who wants to be on the couch under her blanket reading a novel. Not this extroverted person who she pretends to be.
So do you feel like you've had to force yourself into that role, or did that naturally come to you?
No, I enjoy it, but I definitely enjoy events more when I feel invested in the group, that I feel like I have a leadership role in the group versus just coming as an attendee. I don't enjoy those events as much.
Now, our time together is coming to an end, but I have just a few more questions I kind of want to run by you. First of all, I want to know if you could go back in time to Tami right when she left her corporate job and decided to go off on her own, what advice would you give her?
Ooh. Probably find Kim Kleeman earlier. That's the first thing that comes to mind. The listeners are going to be like, who is this Kim chick? You really should Google her. So what would I do differently? I would like to have charged more for my services early on. I wish I had gotten that confidence level. So I'd probably tell myself like, hey, don't go so low. People will pay more and it's okay. Because I think that's the biggest regret with a lot of entrepreneurs is like, why did I waste all those years? But at the same time, I was learning and growing, and I'm not someone who carries regrets. I feel like we learn and we grow. And I'm not someone who looks back and go, oh, I wish I had done that. And every time someone poses that question is like, what would you tell your 10-year-old self or something? I'm always thinking like, nothing. Go live life and experience it and have the losses, and you're going to grow from them. Mm-hmm. You can't save yourself. Like if you tell yourself don't have this experience, well, then you just cut out a growth experience. And I don't believe in that. So I kind of would say, just go do it and have fun. That's probably what I would tell myself.
What is something that you learned as an entrepreneur that you would want to share with a woman just starting out her own business?
From the get-go, build your personal board of advisors. Have people that you have as your board that are unpaid, that are your go-to resources. A coach who does the same work as you that maybe is a little bit further ahead that can lean on. Have the people in your life, someone who's really good at marketing, someone who's really good at all these different things. It's a very lonely business, and you can drown in the loneliness if you don't have a really good support network around you of your go-to advisors. Because then anytime you get yourself in any tricky situation, you have a team of people who can get you right back out.
That's excellent advice. And to close us out, I think my final question for you is, okay, 2 more questions. Sorry, I lied. 2 more questions. How do you hope your work will impact the next generation of women entrepreneurs?
I do believe, and actually I've been told that I've inspired people to go off on their own, to do their own thing. And it's, I'm a confidence coach. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I don't sell it as that, but anything I can do to instill that confidence and have women believe that they can have this and that they can build their own business. That's what I really want to infuse, is just anything to remove the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome and all those kinds of things that bury us unnecessarily and keep us held back.
And what excites you most about your next chapter?
Wow. So one of the things that most excites me is growing the professional women's communities even bigger, because I think I've really stumbled onto a great concept with my working moms groups here in the Chicagoland area, which you are one of my spinoff groups in a way. And I do believe that this is something that shouldn't be special to the north suburbs of Chicago. I think Dallas should have this. I think Denver should have this. And I would really like to see how big I can take this. And that's something that I have on my horizon going forward, because I believe that it's in the women's communities that a lot of the really amazing support and growth can happen. And I want to foster as much of that in this world as I can.
I love that answer, especially because, yes, I have one of the groups, and you directly, I was like, Tami, tell me what to do. So if you are in the Chicagoland area, reach out to me and Tami, because we have groups that are open to people all over the Chicago area. And if you're not in the Chicago area, reach out to us as well if you're interested in starting a group, because we may be able to help you with that. My group has given me so much joy, and being a member of your group has also given me so much to connect with so many incredible women that I wouldn't normally, because they don't like live in my area, but live near my area. It's crazy how in certain parts of the country, all you have to do is cross the street and you're like in a whole other neighborhood. And
Totally.
just, people don't really mix as much because they just kind of stay to their own little, I guess that's pretty true about most parts of America.
Yeah.
But before we go, I would love for you to tell us how we can find you.
Yes, that would be great. My website is greyzonementoring.com, and I spell it Grey, not AY. So greyzonementoring.com. And that's a great way. I've got information on my retreats there, and I've got information on my coaching practice. And then on Facebook, I run a group called Park Ridge Professional Moms. And you can find me. It's actually Park Ridge IL, Illinois. We had to differentiate because there was a Park Ridge, New Jersey. And then we were getting a lot of people from Park Ridge, New Jersey trying to join. So we're in Illinois, just in case anyone's nationwide listening to this. But you can find our group there, and you're welcome to join. And anywhere in the Chicagoland area, if that speaks to you, come on and hang out. And that's probably the best ways.
How can people find out about your books?
Oh, my books. I totally forgot about my books.
I didn't.
Oh my gosh, you're so great. So my books are on Amazon and Kindle and paperback. And I publish under my full name, Tamara Palmer. And my books are Finding Lancelot. That's the one that came to me in the writing retreat. Missing Tyler. Truncated, which is a short story collection, and then The Gray Zone, Insights on Leading Your Career with Intention. So those are my 4 titles. They're on Amazon. And if you forget all of that, just find me on Gray Zone and say, hey, where do I find your books? And I'll tell you.
So you got 3 fiction books and then 1 book to help in your career search.
In your career search. Yep.
Love it. Tami, thank you so much for joining me today in my very first guest episode of She Built That. You absolutely have built that and then some. So I think you are the perfect person to have. And I just want to thank all of you for listening. I'm going to continue interviewing incredible women who have started their own businesses. And I hope that some of this inspires you to start your own business or to forge ahead with new things in the business that you're currently running. And if you want to reach me, I'm Julie Nichols at julienicholsmarketing.com. That's an Nichols marketing.com, not the nickels like the money. And I would love to help you out with your small business marketing. So thanks, and I'll see you next week.